Well, 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 the moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. We all knew the Papaya rules shenanigans would boil over at some point this season, and it seems Singapore was the breaking point. At the Grand Prix, we saw Oscar, usually cool as ice, get a little too colourful on the radio.
Hey, that's not fair. I'm sorry, that's not fair. Yeah, but if he has to avoid another car by crashing into his teammate, then that's a pretty job of avoiding.
What triggered that reaction was Lando getting a bit too aggressive at the race start and snatching third place from Oscar. The two made contact, though luckily without serious damage. Oscar felt like he'd been shoved off unfairly, and he wasn't wrong. Lando slightly miscalculated the move, clipping both Piastri and Verstappen ahead. After that, Lando clearly had the better pace and pulled away. So despite qualifying ahead of Norris, Piastri couldn't stay in front during the race, ultimately losing 3 points to his teammate. Now, if it had been any other driver, say Max or Charles, I don't think Oscar would have minded too much. What made him particularly unhappy was the precedent set earlier in the year by the so-called Papaya rules. The McLaren boys hadn't really gone wheel to wheel for most of the season. Usually, whoever was in front just stayed there, but that didn't mean it was all smooth sailing. The first crack came at the British Grand Prix. Oscar was penalised by the stewards for aggressively slowing before a safety car restart. He took a 10-second penalty during his pit stop, which dropped him from the lead to second behind Lando. Oscar asked the team about a swap if they believed the penalty was unfair, but they refused, and Lando went on to win the race. Then came Monza. Lando was running second, Oscar third, about 2 seconds back. The team pitted Oscar first, while a slow stop for Lando dropped him behind his teammate. But this time, the team immediately instructed Oscar to let Lando through to rectify their mistake, and Oscar complied without hesitation. That incident sparked plenty of debate over whether the switch was fair. Personally, I don't think it was. I mean, it wasn't Oscar's fault that Lando had a slow pit stop. If that had been the championship finale, would they still ask Oscar to just let Lando through to claim the title? Where do they draw the line? I think Oscar was right when he said it didn't feel very team-like.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very team-like, but sure.
Now, Zach and Andrea never gave a straight answer on the Papaya rules question, but what they essentially said was that Lando and Oscar are free to race as long as they keep it clean on track. If one driver is ahead, he gets precedence, whether in pit strategy or other preferences. Simple as that. It's a fair approach by the team to keep things even between their two number one drivers who this year are fighting each other for the title, but honestly, I think McLaren are trying too hard to keep the rivalry friendly, which isn't realistic when you're battling your teammate for a world championship. They should just let them race. If one driver ends up ahead, whether from a pit stop mistake or sheer luck, don't meddle. It feels a bit like telling them to behave like a couple of schoolboys. They're professional racers, just let them go at it and resolve it on the track by racing. The thing is, I feel like Oscar is a very direct guy. If the team says, don't make risky overtakes that could cause contact, he takes that very seriously. He keeps it super clean and avoids dicey moves on Lando. Lando, however, has shown a very different mentality. His thinking seems to be, make the move first, and if the team disagrees, they can always swap positions back. One example was in Canada where Lando completely misjudged an overtake on Oscar, clipped the back of his car, and took himself out of the race. It was a miracle Oscar didn't suffer much damage and was able to finish the race safely. And it was the same in Singapore. Both McLaren drivers were very lucky that the contact was wheel to wheel, otherwise it could have ended very differently. Contrary to that, in Spa, when Oscar was more confident in the wet, he breezed past Lando on the opening lap and then maintained the gap. That move from Oscar reminded me of his first lap overtake at Monza last year. Aggressive but clean, and that's the difference. Oscar keeps it tidy even when he's pushing. So when Lando's move in Singapore wasn't as clean, Oscar clearly felt frustrated. He felt that he lost the position partly because of that contact as he had to brake to avoid the wall, so to him, the move felt a bit unfair. Another factor worth mentioning is the points gap. With 22 points still separating them, Oscar sits in the more comfortable position, while Lando needs to claw back ground with only 6 races left. So it's understandable that Lando would lean on aggression more than Oscar if he wants a shot at the championship. We saw after the race when Zach was congratulating Oscar for his drive and his contribution to the Constructors' title, Oscar just unplugged his radio, took off the wheel, and started getting out of the car.
Oscar, back-to-back champions. Good race, tough race. Thank you for...
Now, I've seen different takes on this bizarre moment online, with many fans saying it was a hot race and he was simply eager to get out. Sure, it could be that, but when your boss is speaking to you on the radio, you don't just pull the plug without saying a word or letting him finish his sentence. A few more seconds in the car wouldn't have mattered. To me, it showed frustration and a bit of disappointment from Oscar towards the team. He clearly felt let down. Then there was another awkward moment after the race when Oscar was in the media pen, while the rest of the team celebrated the constructors' title on the podium. That felt completely out of order. The team celebrating their biggest achievement of the season without their championship leading driver. I heard it was a last-minute decision to go up there, but still, how do you miss your lead driver like that? It gave the impression of a split in the team. Honestly, it reminded me a little of the early stages of the 2016 Nico and Lewis rivalry. And on the topic of favoritism, I don't think McLaren are particularly biased towards one driver. It's more that Lando has been with the team for over 8 years, while Oscar has only been there for 2. Naturally, Lando is more familiar and popular within the team, while Oscar is still building those relationships. Oscar also comes across as a bit more reserved, whereas Lando is very close with Zach. The two are often seen playing golf or attending other events together. That's probably why Zach's reactions seem more expressive when Lando wins compared to Oscar. So to me, it's not really about favoritism. In the end though, I'd just say that Oscar won't stay too upset with Lando's move after reviewing the start again. The frustration was more about the emotion and adrenaline of losing a podium spot in that moment. There was a big gap in front of Lando and it would have been foolish not to go for it. It would have been better, of course, if the move hadn't involved contact with 2 cars, but that's racing. I just hope the teammate rules are clearer in Oscar's mind now, because I'm certain he'll be very eager to return the favour to Lando in the coming races. And knowing Oscar, he's a killer. He's not going to let this one slide. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you think McLaren slightly favours one driver, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
So are we cool with Lando just parting out of the way, or what's the go there?
So we're looking at it. Let me get back to you.